A very good day to you. Welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Jedel Kibret. It's always a pleasure to have you joining us for our political conversation. The ground is now clear for William Ruto to be impeached. At least that is some of the conversations I'm getting. And I'd like to talk to Prof about this. Prof, you look at Gachagua's impeachment and then you ask yourself, with Raila and this broad-based, Kalonzo puts its bread-based government, is Ruto safe? Saboti MP Kalebamisi says, look, I asked Baba why we are impeaching. He said, look, you wanted to impeach both, tuanze na huyu wa kwanza. How do you see the ground when it comes to impeachment of William Ruto?
It's not easy. But I even thought for Gachagua, I said it was not possible, but it happened. So it can still happen. The reasons are there, the grounds are there. Like Kalebamisi says, the possibility is there. The motivation is there. I'm not so sure about the numbers, but you see politics, things change quickly. I never thought Gachagua would be impeached. And mine was based on simple logic. How would a person from Mount Kenya cast their vote to impeach Gachagua?
But they did.
That is writing your political obituary. But they did. And indeed, none of them will see parliament ever again. At least not 2027. But they did. So today you can say there may be no numbers to impeach Ruto, but you can find them. If it is tabled after Raila has lost AU, the excitement and the anger could generate the numbers. The point we must now be making is that we told Ruto, don't travel in that direction. He chose to.
How much does William Ruto need Raila Odinga? If you listen to Wakili Willie Sotieno, he sits here and he says, it's Raila who is holding Ruto's government together. Do you believe this is the case?
It may be true or not true. Because I don't think Ruto can also be so naive as to entirely put his survival in Raila's hands. Then he can be very naive, and I doubt that he's that naive.
But from the looks of it, not from the, not from the.
Because I kept warning, I kept saying, the moment you remove Mount Kenya, you expose your underbelly. You are vulnerable. What are you banking on? Mudavadi and Raila? That looked to me to be too shaky. Again, logic dictated that there's no way Ruto was going. So to pretend the impeachment of Gachagua. But logic is not working in politics. I said how? Because how much control does Mudavadi have of Western Kenya? Kalonzo only needs to give Natembea or Eugene running mate. And they get 60-70% of Western, if Raila is not a candidate.
Maybe I should ask you today, because I've never asked you. Is this the problem with your analysis, that you look at logic rather than
no, not that
necessarily?
I put many things into consideration. But you see, I'm not a prophet. I'm not a magician. I look at things and analyze and say the likely outcome of an election could be like this. It doesn't mean I have to be right. But more often than not, we are right. But something small happened that then changes everything. Look at America in 2020. Corona and George Floyd, whatever he was called, contributed to the way things went. Anybody who had been projecting a different thing, something, that could have affected the projection. In African countries like Kenya, for example, you can project a Jad win, but you may not have factored in the possibility of electoral fraud or rigging. So if I say Ruto will not win, Raila will win, and then there's rigging going on, there are electoral malpractices. How have I gone wrong?
Are we looking at a situation in our country where it's difficult to predict based on logic, based on how our leaders are behaving?
You see, the logic I'm talking about is not the logic of logic, not the logic of mathematics, not the logic of philosophy. In fact, the better word is common sense. And you know I like common sense. Is it not common sense that the Mount Kenya support is far much more valuable to Ruto than the Western support. And I've given reasons. First of all, the people, say the Luhya people of Western Bloc, they are almost apolitical. They don't care about politics so much. They don't register in good numbers. If you look at their population, the demography, the population in the country, how many Luhyas there are, vis-a-vis how many Luhyas register, you see there's a problem. And they don't turn out to vote. Luos may register in big numbers, but when it comes to vote, they don't turn out as much as the Mount Kenya people. So common sense will dictate. If I'm Ruto, I cannot abandon the sure bet, which is Mount Kenya, and go for a shaky bet, a gamble. I can't gamble with the Luo and the Luhya. And I gave reasons. It doesn't have to be logic. At the time, Raila stood his best chance of winning the presidency, which was 2022. Out of 2.1 registered Luo voters in the 4 Luo counties, not outside Siaya, Migori, Kisumu, Homa Bay. 2.1 million registered, 1.4 million voted, meaning 700 didn't vote.
For Raila?
Yes. What percentage is that? More than 30% didn't vote. Is that right?
Yeah.
A third didn't vote. Is that right? More than 30%. Ruto beat Raila, even if you want to use quotes, with 200,000 votes. Which means if half of the 700 Luos who didn't vote in Nyanza, not Nairobi, if half of them had voted, 350, Raila would have won the president. Are those the numbers Ruto want to rely on? So unless there's something he knows which we don't know, I'm just saying common sense in Inagata.
But I'm also thinking about how Ruto is speaking about the politics that will shape 2027 election, which is of unity.
Yes.
And we've always been talking about a euphoria that can cause this unity.
Yes.
Might he be the one to control that wave? A united nation where not Luo, not Mount Kenya, not Pwani, all this can come together for Ruto. Could this be possible?
It's possible. One, politics is not predictable. Two, politics is very dynamic. Three, a single event can change the course of history. And in fact, history has been informed, and the changes in history have been occasioned by just single events. A single minor thing happens and the course of history changes. You get it?
Yeah.
If something happened and Ruto grabbed it and is able to run away with it, he can mobilize the entire country. So you cannot say no or yes.
Do you think he won based on that? When you look at Hustler Nation?
Yes. He created the narrative. And I told those who care to listen, I told them the year 2022 will be won by narratives. The media will play a crucial role, a role hitherto unimagined in the electoral history of this country. And it came. He took the hustler narrative, the dynasty versus hustlers, the bottom-up thing, and he grab run now, and it worked.
How much of that contributed to his win? Was it the narrative? And there's also this side of Mount Kenya and this tribal politics too.
Yes.
If you compare the narrative...
It is sold in Mount Kenya more than anywhere else because the thinking was they are the ones who had been victims of the bad economic times put in place by Uhuru more than anybody else. So it sold there more. The bottom-up and the hustler thing sold in Mount Kenya more than anywhere else. So it is the same thing that took him State House. Come 2027, you cannot use the same. 2027 is likely to be determined by the involvement of the Gen Zs. That's what will determine the 2027 vote.
The Gen Z.
And the person who wins will be the person who will control that demography. The person whose policy, whose thinking, whose communication will resonate with the Gen Zs. Yeah. And I don't know who it is today.
But if you say you don't know, and then you know how Gen Zs have protested against Ruto,
yes,
could there be even a slight chance
that
Gen Zs will support Ruto?
I have said politics, things happen in politics. So, save for such happenings, unlikely happenings, they are most unlikely to work with Ruto. Because Ruto would stand for everything they are against. So the question now comes, is there anybody else? Is there anybody among these people who want to run? Whose thinking, whose ideas is closely similar to what the Gen Zs are thinking? The answer is certainly no. So far, no. And that's why Ruto may beat them. Because they want to play in the same field, under the same rules, and think they will beat Ruto. You have to get the ball out of the pitch where Ruto plays, where Ruto is a master, and take the thing up there where Ruto cannot reach, and where the Gen Zs are king. So it's not just a question of thinking, I will inherit the people who don't like Ruto and the Gen Z. No! Because the Gen Zs must see there's a difference between Kalonzo and Ruto. And so far, do you see any?
There are two things that people are talking about also, about appointments that have been made. Talk about Kithure Kindiki. I haven't seen a post from Raila Odinga congratulating him as our new deputy president.
Yes.
There is the interior cabinet position now that everyone is eyeing.
Yeah, salivating
for. How much are these two positions?
There's a PS I suspect could get. I don't want to mention him. I send him a text and say, Jambo Bwana PS, or should I say CS? Akasema, says PS.
I see these games. But
everybody's looking for that job.
How crucial are these positions when it comes to reassuring Raila that this broad base is truly indeed broad based and not?
You see, that's where Raila got wrong with the handshake. He should have put a man in charge of internal security, but that's the engine. He should have insisted on having either the PS or the CS. But he didn't.
But now
then he would have known all the shenanigans that took place, which some of us knew long before Raila knew. Or people cutting corners, cutting deals with other foreign power. We knew. He would have known if he had somebody in the interior docket.
Okay.
So I would understand if he demands that interior docket. And there will be no point of saying you are now cooperating with Ruto, you are saving his skin, and he's giving you just peripheral things. Finance is good, but it's not as good as interior. Interior is the engine. Somebody can't lie to you. He's with you. If you are with interior, he can't lie to you. You would know. All the games that were played against Uhuru and Raila, if Raila had somebody in interior, PS or CS, he would have known those games. Not Kina Kibisho, not Kina Matiangi.
So if this broad-based is really broad-based,
yes,
you tell him to put his foot there?
Yes. He should get somebody there who is very close to him, like Junaid Mohammed. Put somebody there, close to him. Or Mudavadi.
Mudavadi is not the acting.
Mudavadi can. Ruto will be safe, will know with Mudavadi he's safe. There can be no shenanigans. But equally, with Mudavadi there, Raila can feel fairly certain that if there's something to know, he would know.
Think Mudavadi can be a double agent?
No, not quite double agent, but not double agent, but he will give comfort to both camps. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, he will give comfort to both camps. But if Raila really wants to be in government properly, since he's not going to be the president, as he's not the deputy president, he has to take the interior ministry.
Should Ruto think of saving face in Mount Kenya for those who believe that, look, this position was in Mount Kenya?
Yes.
Should he think about doing the same and bringing this position of interior
That's
back?
what people are saying, to buttress himself, to cement his whatever, not to lose the mountain completely. Other than the deputy president, he ought to give them interior. That has a lot of currency in the country. Who it could be?
I'm asking, could it at least favor him in the...
Yeah, give somebody like Mutai Ngunyi, Mutai Kagwe, Mangi Kiunjuri, Peter Kenneth, any of those people, Peter Munya, yeah. Because he really wants to avoid a situation where there's a re-election.
Oh.
So that's why Kimani Ichung'wah cannot be given.
By elections.
But Mangi Kiunjuri, he can get somebody to get that seat.
Why is he afraid of a by-election?
Because he will lose badly. Wacha ile Uhuru alikuwa anapoteza. This one it will be. Hey.
No, I remember Kiamba, Uhuru.
Why? That is nothing. That will be nothing. If Kimani Ichung'wah were to be given that ministry, the turnout itself during the voting will shake people. The turnout will shake the foundation of Kenyan politics. 90% turnout. All of them anti-UDA. There will be polling stations where there will not be one vote for UDA.
So
one.
You've made me think about these by-elections now.
Yes.
If there is a by-election now,
yes,
would there be a wave in the mountain region? And could this be a way in for Gachagua to come with a political outcome?
Of course, the Gachagua are the ones who will determine how the things will go. It will be so bad for UDA because there will be many polling stations in a by-election in a constituency where they will not get one vote. One. Imagine counting 3,000 votes, 2,000 votes, 900 votes. The polling station is 700 maximum. So I meant a whole center. Just a polling station with 700 votes, voters registered. 650 have turned up. 650 for the Gachagua candidate, 0 for UDA. They will not even feel, nobody will want even to stand.
Maybe let's finish with where we started. If Ruto is to avoid an impeachment, serve his full term, what should he consider when in his dealings with Raila Odinga and these constituents of Gen Zs?
The first thing Ruto should have considered was whether it was necessary to impeach Gachagua or not. That one is behind us. He must now face the consequences. And the really challenge is not just stealing the government, but avoiding an impeachment. Because an impeachment has been made so simple. And we said it. This is dangerous. Don't make these things so simple. That's why it is not something across the world. I can take you with a binoculars, check the books. Where has impeachment been used successful in a presidential system? Or against judicial officers like judges? How many have been impeached in the past 200-300 years of modern history? Court is a difficult thing. It's not something so, but we think we are very clever. We have made it so simple. And the first test is going to be a scare on Ruto. They may not succeed, but it will be a scare. He will not sleep. For the duration of that impeachment, he will not sleep. Then he will hear echoes of Manyora's voice. Why did I impeach Gachagua? Because it is going to be on the cards. I have a nose for politics in this country. I have my ear on the ground. I have the pulse of the Kenyan politics. And I can tell you an impeachment against Ruto will come. It may not succeed.
Yeah.
I suspect it will not succeed. But an impeachment, a vote of no confidence, even in the House of Commons, even when it is being brought in clearly obvious circumstances that it cannot go through, the Prime Minister can't sleep. Even when it is known, it's just a scare. Many of the votes of no confidence in parliamentary system are never really meant to succeed, but to jolt the government of the day. And even then, even when the party has a comfortable majority, that vote of no confidence scares everybody. And therefore, the Ruto regime, when they face these things, when they realize, they now begin to see what Gachagua went through. A dose of their medicine, they will know how bad it is. Unaenda toilet 5 times in a minute. Unaenda, unarudi. What is happening?
I'm asking you, what should he do now? Brace because it's eventually coming, or how can he avoid
just be good to Raila? Nothing is too big to give Raila. The beauty, and that's how Ruto is lucky. Raila is not, when it comes to power and these things of sharing, he's not a very greedy person. I want to call him reasonable. Sometimes a little, and I don't want to use the word against an old man who is my friend, but that word that comes from my mouth all the time.
Yeah.
So he's a man you can easily take care of. So if they sit, na Raila aulize vitu, Ruto akamuuliza, lakini kweli Raila, sasa mimi nitakuwa president namna gani ukichukua hii yote? No, wewe mwenyewe gawa sasa. Umekuja na hii demand. Put yourself in my position, please. Raila atagawa tu vizuri. Sema okay, wacha hii kaya later. That's the only way. Because Raila is a reasonable person. Ask Raila, bring those demands of yours. Let's see. want to process them. Waende wakae tu, wakutane huko Dubai ama wapi, wakae tu kwa meza. When they come from there, Raila will be okay. He will get a few things, not everything he wanted. Ruto will be happy, and he will go up to 2027. But
that is...
if he thinks he can play smart with Raila, I know Raila very well. Raila, yeah. Once his lieutenants get the signal that he's not happy, they'll move this impeachment motion.
How about Wananchi in this conversation?
But Wananchi are never anywhere. Have you ever seen Wananchi in the picture? Wananchi will be in the picture when somebody like Manyora becomes president.
Thanks for tuning into that conversation. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.